It was a Monday morning when everything stopped.
Spain and Portugal have faced the biggest power cut in European history.
There was a massive power cut
in one of the biggest blackouts Europe has ever seen.
It's knocked out electricity across Spain and Portugal.
It caused disruption to millions of shops, homes and businesses.
Phone services out and tens of millions of people impacted.
I was walking out the door of my Lisbon, Portugal home on my way to spending a few relaxing days in the countryside when the power went out. And initially, I had no idea what was happening. I thought it was just a power outage in my building. So I left the building, got in the car, and just set off on my road trip, not really worried about anything. But as we were driving, there was just a gridlock. And we started to get messages from people saying that it was a huge power outage, that something was happening. We tried to call our family members, we tried to text, we tried to have internet access. Everything was down. And then we hit this absolutely apocalyptic traffic jam leaving Lisbon. Like, all of the lights were down in Lisbon, like everything was absolute chaos. People were rushing into grocery stores. It looked like the apocalypse. And I remember when my car stopped in this traffic jam that took hours to get out, my body started to go into a nervous response. Like, my heart rate increased. We were wondering what was happening. Like, there were initial reports saying that there were multiple countries involved in this power outage. And so your mind starts to say, oh my God, what is happening? Is it possible that there's some war starting and we don't even know about it? All of these things are going through my mind at the same time that I'm stuck in traffic in a gridlock with people honking everywhere, everybody freaking out and just super stressed out. And then when we finally got out of Lisbon on the way to the countryside, it was just absolute chaos at highway gas stations. There were lines everywhere. And it wasn't until we stopped at a gas station on the highway that had a generator, so we had a little bit of internet. And that's when we noticed that it was a power outage across Portugal and Spain. And everything was down, from telecommunications to internet to everything. And I remember in this episode feeling into my body, and I was super, super agitated. I was agitated not just because of the harsh energy, like when you are stuck in an emergency situation like that, people lose their wits and just completely go absolutely bonkers and insane. There are grocery rushes. There's, people rush to the gas station. There's all of this panicked behavior that affects our energy. But there was also more to that too. Like, I noticed that I was very quickly tapping into, thoughts around is something happening? Is there a bigger war happening? Is there, what is going on? And my body started to go into this fight or flight response. I was really stressed. I was driving, holding onto the wheel. I was really tense, really agitated, until finally we got to the hotel in the countryside. There was still no power. When we got there, that I just kind of sat down and I started to think, wow, my nervous system dysregulated very quickly, very, very quickly. I noticed that about me. I've noticed that I'm more sensitive to stress. My nervous system is more sensitized. It's a little bit more on edge. And I started pondering, this has been going on for a while, that dysregulation inside of me. So I hopped on my community and I did a poll, and I wanted to see if it was just me, is it something that's going on with me? I knew it was something that was generalized, but I wanted to see just how generalized. So I polled my audience to find out if they were having more difficulty regulating their nervous system in these days than in the past weeks or months. And 87% of my audience said that they were also having difficulties regulating their nervous system. And this is a part of a broad pattern of something that's going on the planet inside of our nervous systems. I've been thinking more and more about this increased in sensitivity in the nervous system and how I am becoming more sensitive as the weeks, months, and years progress. And so are you. So is everyone that's going through a spiritual awakening and doing spiritual work. When you do your spiritual work, when you do the healing, when you do your inner work of, understanding your shadow, understanding your wounds, wanting to upgrade your energy system, wanting to grow, wanting to evolve, all of this spiritual work involves you becoming more sensitive. That is just the natural consequence of a spiritual awakening. The more you do your spiritual work, the more your energy ascends, the more sensitive you become. And that is an amazing thing. That's what your soul wants. Our souls are so happy the more sensitive we are down here, because that means that we could sense and feel the world more intensely. We can sense and feel not only the physical world, but also the spirit world. We can connect with the spirit world more easily the more sensitive we are. So it's amazing and it is wonderful. But then comes a conundrum that a lot of spiritual people are going through right now. And I get this question a lot in my private community and also in comments on YouTube videos and on my social media. And it's this conundrum that the spiritual person is having right now, which is that at the same time that we are doing our spiritual work and we are becoming more and more sensitive, the world is also becoming more polarized, right? Like you really would have to be living under a rock to not see what's going on. Like, political discord, a lot of violence. There's an increase in polarization energy on the planet right now. And spiritual people know that this is a part of the mass awakening on the planet. When you awaken, a lot of people are not knowing how to cope with these new, more ascended energy, the energies of evolution. And a lot of times during awakening phases, during mass evolution phases on the planet, we go through temporary shifts where the energies are more polarized, they're more harsh, they're more chaotic. And we're going through that right now. But the conundrum for spiritual people is this: how do I keep becoming more sensitive in a world that is becoming more polarized? That is a huge question that a lot of spiritual people have right now. For me, I've been contemplating this question a lot lately. On the one hand, the world is becoming increasingly polarized, and it's going to continue to be so for a while. This is a temporary energy, but it's not temporary. It's temporary in terms of universal consciousness, not temporary in terms of human timeline. So this increase in polarization is going to continue for years to come, possibly for the rest of our lifetimes on this earth. And so that increase in energy polarization is kind of a given, right? Like there's a lot of stuff that needs to be cleansed on planet Earth. There are a lot of shadows that need to be seen. There's a lot of shadow work that needs to happen. A lot of wounds, a lot of institutional, political, economic change needs to happen on the planet. And that unfortunately doesn't happen without shaking the structures of everything, which creates polarization, right? So that's a given and that's going to continue. And at the same time, we're also spiritual beings and we're being called to do our work and evolve. And the more that we evolve, it is a natural consequence that we become more sensitive. So these two things, although it feels like a conundrum, these two things are true and they're going to continue. So for me, it's been more about, how do I adapt to this energy? How do I adapt to this increased sensitivity without feeling like I'm short-circuiting or without feeling like I'm losing my resilience or I'm becoming weaker, for example? I've been thinking about that a lot. And when I polled my audience, I saw the comments, and a lot of people in the comments were talking about how they felt more weakened now than they did before their spiritual awakenings. It's almost like the work, the openness that we go through can create a temporary weakness in our energy system, because now we are totally open to all these energies, and sometimes we may not know how to hold strong with those energies. And so I saw those comments, and I've been contemplating that a lot also for me. And for me, here are some of the things that I've been doing. I've been relying on a really important truth and kind of an energy path really that has been shown to me that I've been focusing here on the body. And I wanted to share that with you so that you can tap into this energy also. When I sit and meditate and understand my body and connect with my body, I ask my body, all right, how do I continuously become more sensitive in a world that feels more polarizing without feeling like I'm losing my resilience? And the body really started to point to something deep, and I'm pointing into my heart because it feels like it's in the heart, but it's deeper and lower. And there's this depth inside of me. There's like this depth that we're being called to reach. And you too, not just inside of me. We're being called to reach for a depth inside of ourselves. And this energy feels less like, it's not about grounding, really. I talk a lot about how we should create deeper roots and we should ground more into the planet herself. We should ground into nature. And these are all great practices that I still use, and they're really important in my toolbox for keeping my energy system regulated. But this type of grounding is different. It's reaching a depth inside of your body. So it's almost like you are grounding, you are rooting inside of your physical body. There is an inward movement into your body, not just into the earth or grounding below your feet. And when I feel into that energy inside of me, the image that I get is of this really old tree. You'll notice that even in the most powerful hurricanes, even in a Category 5 hurricane, there are always some trees that stay standing. Some of them fall over, the majority of the trees fall, they fall on houses blow away, roofs blow away, cars blow away. But in the middle of even the most powerful hurricane, there are always some trees that stay standing. And that's the image that I got when I was tapping into this depth in my body. It's that image of the old tree that stands despite a powerful hurricane. And how does an old tree stand despite a powerful hurricane? It all depends on the depth of the roots. The more rooted the tree is, the more it could stabilize against the gale force winds that are trying to push on it. And it's the same thing for this place that I'm tapping in my body. It feels like an old tree. So now what I'm doing is whenever I feel my nervous system starting to get dysregulated or too sensitized, or I feel like I'm losing a little bit of resilience and I'm not able to stand strong in the middle of the polarization, I just close my eyes and I put my hand on my heart and I tap into that place. And I can't tell you where the place is, but for me, you're gonna have to test this in your body. For me, in my body, I feel it into my heart, down deep, almost like it's towards my spine. So if I could press my finger into my chest and keep going almost until I touch my spine on the inside, that's where this place is. It's very deep in your abdomen, lower torso. But for you, this place can be in a different part of your body. For me, my body is signaling that depth within in that physical place. And when I close my eyes and I tap into that place, I can see this tree. I can feel this strength. And it's like my body is calling me to ground within myself and not have to rely on anything else. I can still use all of the other tools, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But the main basic thing that I'm learning right now and that I'm sensing right now is the body is saying, I am your ground. You can rely on me, which seems a little bit contradictory because your body is also the same one that has the nervous system that is a little bit hypersensitized right now. So how can that body also be my grounding? And it's true. Both things can coexist. Both things can be true. So at the same time that your body is becoming more sensitive, there's also a place within your body that grounds you, that holds you, and that provides that grounding and anchoring force that allows you to become sensitive at the same time that your body holds the structure for that. All right. And so these two energies are happening inside of you. You are becoming more sensitive. You are becoming more open. And that's a great thing. Do not shut that down. Don't try to shut that down because it's only going to be causing you a lot of suffering. But at the same time that you're getting more sensitive, there's also another energy within you that can hold the structure for that sensitivity to flourish without you feeling like you are falling apart or like you're losing resilience. Every week, I share inspirational stories, actionable tips, and private content with my email list, and their responses show me just how impactful these emails are in people's lives. Being on my email list also means you get early access when I open a retreat or my private community, Heart Alchemy. To join my email list and receive all these benefits, click on the link below. Aside from getting to know this depth within my body and familiarizing myself with that, and the only way you could really do this is sitting in meditation and finding within you that depth that your body is calling to. It is there. You just need to discover it, connect with it, learn from it. And aside from this exercise that I'm doing and connecting with the depth, the newfound depth inside of my body, there are also other practices that I'm following that I want to mention here. I'm feeling that I'm having more patience and compassion with my body. A lot of the practices are centered around my body because that's where the sensitivity occurs, right? Like you are a spiritual being having a human experience, and that human experience, that human body is absolutely crucial for your spiritual evolution and also for the time that you have down here, for the quality of life that you have down here, for what's known as health span, right? Like the more that you can conserve your beautiful body and love it and really connect with it and listen to it, the longer your health span will be while you are living on earth, the higher quality of life you will have. And I've been feeling that a lot. I have a lot of compassion and patience with my body. So if my body is more tired, I listen to where that exhaustion is coming from. I listen to the cues. I follow my body's directives. I follow what it is saying to me, but with a lot of patience and a lot of compassion. I'm not pushing my body. I am not judging my body. There's no critical energy happening here. It's just a lot of love and compassion for this beautiful human avatar. If you really think about, if you were to know intellectually what your body is doing when you're having a spiritual awakening, I feel like we would all just start honoring our body much more. There are so many things happening behind the scenes on a cellular level inside of all systems of your body that it's quite miraculous that your body can actually transition and transform in such a short amount of time, really, if you think about it. Like this is the most dense part of you. Whenever you have matter, matter takes time to change. Energetically, you can change like this, but at the level of the body, it takes time. And so it's just miraculous, all the changes that the body does when you're having a spiritual awakening, all the changes that the body goes through. So have a lot of compassion and patience for this beautiful physical vessel that is your body. Another thing I'm doing is I'm slowing down more, and slowing down not in the sense of, you may be thinking, oh, it's procrastinating or being more lazy. It's not really that. I'm slowing down in the sense that I am becoming more discerning the things I say yes to and the things I say no to. I'm learning to use the word no a lot more. If my body feels like there's an opportunity here, but that opportunity is not going to be worth my time, if my body doesn't feel inclined to pursue that opportunity, I will say no to it. And that's something that I'm learning too. Discerning between a yes and a no, learning how to slow down and pace yourself while you're having a spiritual awakening is really important too. Another thing I'm doing that's been really, really beneficial is I am discerning where I place my energy. And this, I'll give you an example of how this works. So I have, I'm a public facing person. I've got social media, large social media, YouTube and all this. So I'm constantly being bombarded with comments, with all of these things on social media. I used to have my notifications on my phone. I no longer do. And so what I'm doing is I started noticing that there are a lot of people that are just batshit crazy right now. Like, to be honest, like people are very polarized. They're very imbalanced, especially if they are not doing their spiritual work. If they're getting stuck in the polarization on the planet and they're not doing their spiritual work, they're not connecting to their souls, they can really become very violent. And a way in which that violence permeates is through social media. So I was noticing that I was getting some nasty comments, a lot of really negative, intense comments. And I used to be a person that would engage more, respond to comments, try to show a person a different way of thinking about something or feeling about something. I would engage. But what I started noticing lately, what I've been noticing in the past months, is that the engaging was just me using my energy for nothing at all, because on social media and in the comment section, you're not really going to change anyone's opinion. Nobody is going to change their opinion. Everybody is living in their own little bubbles, right? Like in their own little echo chambers, and nobody wants to listen. And so I started to think, why am I even spending time responding to this comment or even engaging with this person? It's a total waste of my energy. And so I stopped doing that. Okay. So that's just a small example of the things that I'm learning, where I'm going to put my energy. And it could be for you, it could be different. Maybe you have a friend or a family member that's incredibly draining on your energy system and doesn't bring anything into your life. Whenever you're with them, the only thing that happens is you just lose your energy for nothing at the end. And so maybe you have to think about imposing new boundaries with certain friendships, certain family members. So that's another example of being very discerning on where you want to put your energy. Because when you are going through this spiritual awakening, you're using a lot of chi, a lot of energy. right? Especially the more sensitized you become, the more you need to be discerning on where your energy should go, because why would you expose yourself to energy that is harmful to you or that is not uplifting or completely unnecessary in your life? There wouldn't be any reason to do that. And so becoming more discerning on where you put your energy is incredibly important, and that's been a game changer for me, because the more that I conserve my energy and I know where to put it, it means I have more chi for myself, and with more energy, my body grounds itself and becomes more stabilized just by having more energy versus how I feel when I'm exhausted, right? Like, you can tell the difference. If you're sensitive and you're exhausted versus you're sensitive and you have a lot of energy and vitality, these are two different states, right? When I'm sensitive and exhausted, my whole energy system collapses and I'm less able to deal with the challenges of life. But if I'm sensitive but have a strong energy, I can weather the harsh energies. I could weather the polarization, right? So learning how to manage your energy is incredibly, incredibly powerful right now. And one last thing I'm doing is I'm actually doing active embodiment practices to help my nervous system calm down. So I'm actively bringing my nervous system from the fight or flight freeze or the sympathetic dominance into what's known as parasympathetic dominance. The parasympathetic meaning the relaxation nervous system. And I do very active practices to help my nervous system calm down and come into this parasympathetic state, whether it's meditation, dancing, deep breathing works really well, contact with nature as much as possible. So I follow these different practices, everyday practices that help my body feel calmer. The calmer you are in your energy system, in your body, the less you will be affected by the sensitivities of your nervous system. Because again, when you have a sensitive nervous system, when you have a sensitive energy system in the middle of a calm body versus a stressed out or anxious, burnt out body, these are going to have two different outcomes, right? And so the calmer I am, the more easily I can deal with my sensitivities. So if you feel super, super sensitive right now and like you're having a lot of difficulties regulating your nervous system, don't worry, don't stress out. This is temporary. And I feel like this is also kind of a step up in our souls and our body, asking us to evolve more, right? Because if the world is increasingly become polarized, that also means that your soul has equipped your body to be able to live within that polarization without having a short circuit, right? Like, your soul prepared you to live in this lifetime. And that's the ultimate truth that I always love to hold in my heart, is that your soul prepared you. It gave you a toolbox. It gave you a beautiful, prepared body to be able to live a fulfilling, happy, joyful life, even when you are on a planet that is becoming more polarized, right? You have the tools within you. And right now, what I feel like is happening is we're just taking a step up in our evolution. We're taking a step up towards, okay, I need to adapt a little bit more and change maybe the way that I do things, the way that I think about things, and also how I treat my body and how I use my energy. But once you make those tweaks, you'll find that it'll be easier for you to regulate your nervous system, even when there are harsh energies and when you feel like the world is going insane. Speaking of being sensitive in a polarized world, watch this video next to understand how the world is actually changing energetically and how you can adapt quickly to this change.